The other day, Bruce Willis showed up. Introducing Bruce Willis. Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne. Do not. Wow, you're awesome. You are awesome. You know, on August 15th, 2025, Bruce Willis entered a nursing facility. Every year, his family would shell out $200,000 to protect him. The voice actor who famously shouted above Die Hard's explosives is now speechless. However, it's hardly the most terrible aspect. For years, Emma kept something hidden, but now she has exposed it. Bruce, she reasoned, was only being distant. His brain was deteriorating, but she had no clue. He had been slipping away from the sickness for quite some time. Nobody was aware. Your heart will shatter at the news his family received. Bruce Willis came into this world in the little West German town of Idar Oberstein on March 19, 1955. He was born to a German mother from Kassel and an American father who had been stationed there during the war. As a child, Bruce lived in a world divided between two cultures. The military base he resided on it circled by the specters of a recent conflict, struggling with the clash of American tradition and German discipline. His life took a dramatic turn when he was just 2 years old. The whole family relocated to New Jersey in 1957, the year his father was discharged from the service. The German lad was no longer Bruce. All of a sudden, he belonged to the same gritty American neighborhood as any other kid, surrounded by family that were fighting to make ends meet. His mom had odd jobs at banks, and his dad was a metal worker. They were strapped for resources, and Bruce felt out of place. Something began to seriously concern him as the 1960s rolled around. Bruce began to experience a terrible stammer at about the age of 6. He struggled to form words. No matter how hard he tried, his words would always come out garbled. The kids found it funny and made fun of it, and slapped a nasty nickname on his head, Buck Buck. In an attempt to defend himself, he swung his fists violently in an attempt to fight back. Still, he carried around the guilt of his mumbled speech. It would take him minutes to utter a single sentence at times. His self-assurance was shattered. When he was 10 years old, class had already devolved into a bloodbath. He felt alone because of his stutter. The tipping moment might have occurred during high school. For fear of being called upon, he deliberately missed class. He used practical jokes to divert attention away from his remarks. Yet something incredible occurred when, in the early 1970s, at the age of 15 or 16, he joined the drama club on a whim. His stammer vanished the second he took the stage to read his lines. It had a magical quality. He was fearless in his speech and could express himself effectively. A shift occurred, individuals paid attention. Educators were taken aback. When Bruce put on another persona, he found that the words flowed more easily. Through acting, he regained his voice. Everything shifted after that finding. He had risen to the position of student council president by 1973. He was unconcerned that some children continued to tease him. He felt revitalized after discovering something. Even more helpful was speech treatment he had from 2 teachers in 1975. While he was a theater major at Montclair State University. However, Bruce had become weary of school by 1977. He abruptly left and headed directly for New York City. His heart set on achieving greater things. He was a bartender by trade, and he worked long hours to make ends meet because he had no other options. He occasionally slept on couches or in cramped apartments. One thing he did well was make people laugh. He zoomed off to his job. He solicited tips by playing the harmonica. He transformed the tavern into an opera house. Those were challenging and chaotic years. In his first year, he encountered more than 100 rejections. However, he gradually landed parts in off-Broadway productions. In 1977, he made his stage debut in a play titled Heaven and Earth. He persisted despite the meager funds and constant rejection. When circumstances were rough, he would occasionally have to sleep on benches. However, he began to attract attention. Commercial appearances, short film roles, and in 1980, a brief juxtaposition with Frank Sinatra. However, he got into an altercation one night. While working the bar in an effort to defend an individual, he suffered a severe broken nose. Urgent surgery was necessary for him. Despite doctors' warnings that the accident could damage his voice, he managed to pull through. With more resolve, he returned. He retained the scar, and it served as an advantage. Returning to at the time, not a single soul had any idea he would go on to become a global action superstar. However, he created something more substantial than celebrity in those rundown New York taverns. He formed bonds with people that would endure for many years. Behind the counter at Chelsea Central, he crossed up with John Goodman, and the two of them put on impromptu, wild shows that startled the small spectators. Their enthusiasm was genuine. Despite their financial situation, they made barely a few dollars a week. No scripts were used in their work. They raised their voices, sobbed, and embraced each moment to the fullest. These unrehearsed performances honed Bruce's timing and instilled in him the energy he would need to captivate audiences in the theater. After that, in 1985, a sea change occurred. Moonlighting was a new television series, and Bruce stepped into an audition for it. There were almost 3,000 hopefuls for the part, including trained performers and radio personalities. Despite ABC's 11 rejections, Bruce returned for a final round, just as before, but this time with a buzz cut, dangling earrings, and an irresistible attitude. The producers couldn't help but giggle when he improvised his lines. They desired the stuttering foreigner all of a sudden. Bruce Willis's meteoric rise to fame began the moment March 3, 1985, aired Moonlighting. It was an expensive and disorganized show. Production time was double that of typical television series. Each episode lasted 120 pages. Lengthy, but the charisma, quickness, and unpredictability of Bruce made it a hit. He had many disagreements with Sybil Shepherd, his co-star. Set tensions were at an all-time high by 1986. Before scenes, they would bicker and snap at each other. Off-camera, they would occasionally refuse to talk. In 1988, due to extreme fatigue, Bruce fainted and required hospitalization as a result of the mounting pressure. Play scripts were postponed. The chemistry between them kept viewers glued, even when the ratings dropped. Bruce may have been exhausted behind the scenes, but when he was on camera, he captivated audiences. Bruce stunned everyone in January 1987 with the release of his music album The Return of Bruno, which occurred during all this. His meteoric rise to the top of the charts shocked everyone. 500,000 copies sold, and the record was certified gold. In the UK, it peaked at number 2 as well. The critics scoffed, but the fans were unconcerned. Bruce transformed the music of soul legends into an unforgettable masterpiece with his singing. As was typical of him, it was eccentric, daring, and entertaining. The monotony, though, was wearing on everyone. After spending over $1 million on each episode of his side project, Bruce felt he had reached rock bottom. The actors who co-star with him, additional setbacks occurred in 1987 due to a pregnant woman's pregnancy, and in 1988, the show was almost canceled due to a big writer strike. The final episode aired on May 14, 1989. Everything Bruce had was poured into it. His fame in Hollywood had already begun to spread by that point. From gigs that paid $1,500 to $50,000 per episode, his compensation on TV had increased dramatically. Bruce Willis wasn't originally cast as the lead. Nobody saw him landing the lead role in a major action picture because he was mostly known as the charismatic man from Moonlighting. However, in an unusual turn of events, a screenplay titled Die Hard was being developed in the late 1980s by Hollywood. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone were among the famous actors who declined. Since the plot was meant to be a sequel to an earlier project in which Frank Sinatra had starred, even he was approached. Like her, he passed. Suddenly, Bruce Willis was offered the role. The fact that the studio was prepared to pay him $5 million was perhaps more shocking than his selection. Superstars like Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman could only afford that kind of sum. Studio officials were believed by industry insiders to be completely insane. The majority of the filming took place at Los Angeles's Fox Plaza, where production commenced in late 1987. Nobody could have predicted the film's meteoric rise to fame when it was released on July 15, 1988. Carried out. Bruce Willis became an international superstar when the film grossed over $140 million worldwide. You have to pay for it though. A nearby explosion during one of the numerous explosive feats permanently damaged his left ear's ability to hear. So as not to disrupt production, he kept silent at the time. The entire extent of the harm, however, was not known until much later. Got better, but it remained an ongoing health concern for him well into the new millennium. Everything changed though when he brought that relatable rough-edged spirit to John Millen. By no means did he resemble a superhero. Just a typical guy stuck in a crazy position, that's how he looked. And that was why he was so beloved. Bruce pulled off an unexpected stunt a mere 12 months afterward. In the film Look, he agreed to voice a talking infant, discussing whom. Despite how silly it seemed, there was more to the surprise than meets the eye. That was his just reward. He earned $10 million for just 4 days of voice acting, because of a cunning agreement that allowed him to partake in the earnings. The film's production budget was less than $10 million, but it grossed nearly $300 million globally. Families around the world fell in love with his charming and sardonic voice. As a result of the film's success, he received an additional $10 million for its sequel. It became apparent to everyone that he was intelligent in addition to being fortunate. He proceeded to attempt an entirely new strategy. In Country was released in September 1989. An emotional Vietnam veteran residing in a peaceful town was the protagonist of this slow-moving tale. Bruce, who portrayed quiet pain, developed a mustache for the part. Perhaps the authenticity of the portrayal was enhanced by the fact that his own father had served in the Korean War. Reviews were positive. No one showed up to see it, despite Roger Albert giving it 3 stars. The film's box office take was pitiful. Nonetheless, Bruce's risk-taking spirit was on display as he walked away from another hit. He was back to his old tricks by 1990. The 4th of July saw the release of Die Hard 2. It has on occasion, Bruce was self-assured. He received $7. Payout of $5 million plus a percentage of future income. More than twice as much as the original, the film made over $240 million globally. On set, he and the director had an argument over how realistic the film should be. He preferred more realistic stunts. He yearned for the threat to be tangible. His profession progressed because he maintained that same approach, which focused on the details. His remuneration had increased to $15 million by the time 1995 rolled around for the 3rd film. However, not all things he touched became valuable. After its late 1990 release, the sequel to Look Who's Talking bombed at the box office. It was critically panned and earned barely $47 million. Over the course of 3 days, Bruce recorded every line of dialogue, and he later acknowledged that the script was unfinished. He went so far as to sue the producer, asserting that they were due a $2 million royalty. The case, however, was dismissed. It went to show that getting rich quick wasn't necessarily a guarantee of long-term prosperity. Another turning moment followed. It was 1994 when Pulp Fiction came out. Quentin Tarantino enlisted Bruce's help in casting him as the unyielding boxer Butch. The film did more than boost his career. As a result, his image changed. Authentic, risk-taking, and gritty. He earned a pitiful $800,000 for the part, much below his typical rate. Still, it was irrelevant to him. The experience was regarding the plot. In addition to taking home an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay, the picture made over $200 million worldwide. The public began to view Bruce as more than simply an action hero. Even though he did not receive any nominations, he was considerably more persistent the following year. He portrayed a damaged man from a dystopian future in the 1995 film 12 Monkeys. 20 pounds fell off him. as a result of the position. In order to get ready, he went to psychiatric facilities. Plus, he did a stunt that broke his shoulder while filming. But he persisted nevertheless. The film received 2 Academy Award nominations and grossed over $160 million. Bruce does not receive a nomination once again. His dedication to the role, however, was undeniable. When he released The Fifth Element in 1997, he shocked everyone once again. It was vibrant, futuristic, and full of mayhem. Bruce, in the role of a cab driver, becomes humanity's final line of defense. At the time, the film's budget of about $90 million was unprecedented, and it grossed more than $260 million. Bruce performed all of his own stunts. The snug orange vests he despised were his attire. But it all came together in the end. It was a cult classic in the making. Bruce then helmed the massive disaster film Armageddon in 1998. In the role, he portrayed Harry Stamper, a resolute oil driller tasked with diverting an incoming asteroid away from Earth. The picture topped the box office with almost $553 million upon its international release on July 1. A lot of trouble was brewing behind the scenes, though. Bruce and Michael Bay had an argument over the scenes that were deleted from the film, particularly the touching ones involving family. In addition to claiming that filming was terrible, he got into an argument with producer Jerry Bruckheimer. Nonetheless, the film's touching farewell, which Bruce improvised, helped it connect with viewers. Bruce received a Razzie for Worst Actor in 1999, even though the film received 4 Oscar nominations. Quite an unusual turn of events for a smash success. Even Bruce's private life was in the news in 1987. While Demi Moore was still engaged to Alio Estes, they met in July during a movie screening. Still, Bruce and Demi tied the knot in Sin City on November 21, 1987, barely 4 months after their engagement. According to Demi, the wedding was totally unplanned. Bruce proposed that they tie the knot when they were on their way to Gamble. Little Richard was the officiant in the formal ceremony that took place a month later, and there were over 100 attendees. A powerful Hollywood relationship began with the unexpected marriage, which cost less than $1,000. Their first daughter, Rumor, was born in August 1988, exactly 9 months after the wedding, despite rumors that Demi was pregnant in the days leading up to the ceremony. 3 daughters were born to Bruce and Demi. In 1988, there was Rumor, in 1991 Scout, and in 1994 Tula. They attempted a work-life balance by taking turns playing leading roles in films, but the pressures of fame got to them. It was Demi's record-breaking $12. They spent $5 million promoting striptease in 1996, but they were both the targets of affair rumors. Reports surfaced linking Bruce to models and Demi to her co-stars. Bruce allegedly rushed off the set of a 1995 film following an incident. The harm was mounting behind the scenes despite their public unity. Bruce and Demi's marriage lasted 11 years before they decided to divorce in 1998. October 2000 was the final month of their divorce. On the outside, the separation appeared calm, but in private they clashed. Entrances with their $200 million. In what was arguably the priciest Hollywood divorce ever, Bruce ended up paying Demi as much as $90 million. The matter of their girls' custody also needed to be resolved, although reports indicated it wasn't easy. Bruce told Rolling Stone they remained friends for the kids. Demi had the girls raised on the ranch in Idaho, which she owned. Even the best stars have personal struggles, and Bruce was still riding high from Armageddon's success when he got divorced. Suffering concealed by notoriety. Unexpectedly, they maintained a close relationship following the divorce. Demi saw Bruce's nuptials to Emma Heming in 2009. Demi was a part of the family celebration in 2019 when Bruce and Emma renewed their vows. They posted joyful images and even spent the 2020 lockdown in Idaho together with all the kids. After receiving word of his frontotemporal dementia diagnosis in 2023 and aphasia in 2022, Demi went on to help Bruce. The perseverance of the mixed family proved that marriage is not the be-all and end-all of love. When a lady accused Bruce of having fathered her child from a 1991 one-night encounter, it was one of the lowest points in his history. A DNA test was conducted after she took him to court. At the time, the test proved Bruce wasn't the father and cost about $5,000. His reputation took a hit because of the lawsuit. This incident contradicted his reputation as a caring father. Reportedly, Demi's support for him caused significant strain on their marriage. Bruce was the star of the 1999 understated thriller, The Sixth Sense, which shocked audiences everywhere. He received $14 million for his role as Malcolm Crowe, a child psychologist. A surprising turn of events occurred in the story. Through it all, Crowe had been lifeless. Nearly $673K was the film's total revenue. Million copies sold and topped the charts for 5 weeks straight. After Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, it became 1999's second highest grossing film. Though he did not receive an Oscar nomination, Bruce's career received a significant boost from the play. He improvised scenes to give his character more depth and kept the revelation a secret from nearly everyone. Bruce and director M. reunited in 2000 for Unbreakable. Night Shyamalan is the director. In the role, he portrayed David Dunn, a survivor a train wreck, and begins to suspect he could be a superhero in disguise. Bruce made about $20 million and co-star Samuel L. Jackson made $10 million, contributing to the unexpectedly high $75 million budget. Despite earning $248 million, the film's large budget strained relations with Disney. The price tag went up even further due to several reshoots. Regardless, the film was successful in attracting viewers and went on to form a trilogy, but that costly risk nearly doomed Shyamalan's career back then. Bruce had dabbled with music even before he became famous for his films. His 1987 album The Return of Bruno was issued by him. He delivered renditions of famous songs while portraying the role of Bruno Radellini. On the Billboard charts, one song, Respect Yourself, peaked at number 5. Within the United Kingdom, Under the Boardwalk was ranked #2. Critics panned the album, despite its gold certification and almost 500,000 copies sold. Rolling Stone panned it as tone deaf, and the public made fun of it to the point that Bruce retired from professional singing in 1989. Regardless, he continued to perform live at major concerts like Farm Aid, but the criticism had a profound emotional impact on him. While filming Bandits in 2001, Bruce was once again the subject of speculations that put him in the spotlight. He was Billy Bob Thornton's co-star and Cate Blanchett, and the tabloids said that Bruce was cheating on Kate. Ashton Kutcher's suspicions about the on-set romance of another actress made the rumors even more widespread. In her 2019 memoir, Demi Moore detailed all of this. The controversy nearly derailed the film's marketing, even though Blanchett later denied the allegations. Bandit's budget was $75 million, however it only made $67 million. After that, in 2002, Bruce's Heart's War was a huge failure. In a WW prison camp he portrayed a colonel. Despite spending $70 million, the film only managed to earn $32 million globally. Stock in MGM fell after the company lost more than $50 million. Although he was compensated $15 million for the part, Bruce later said that it caused him to doubt his professional future. He stepped away from Hollywood for a while and entered rehabilitation. When Bruce Willis was cast in 2007 Live Free or Die Hard brings John Mellon back to life. Once again he faced cyber terrorists. The film still managed to earn $383 million globally, even after being re-rated to PG-13. However, there were some bumps in the road behind the scenes.
A dangerous stunt went wrong during a high-speed chase, causing Willis to sustain a concussion. On set he had already encountered danger before. A blast had almost killed him in the first Die Hard, and the gunfire had caused him to lose hearing in his left ear. The pranks perpetrated by co-star Justin Long, such as placing oatmeal on Willis's seat, helped to lighten the mood even during the most serious moments. The picture, which Len Wiseman directed, grossed more than $134 million worldwide. Willis shocked everyone in 2006 when he made a surprise change. In place of projectiles, and he provided the voice for RJ, a talkative raccoon, in the family cartoon, Over the Hedge, which depicted ravenous wildlife encroaching on suburban areas. It was completely out of left field, but he nailed it, and the film grossed $339 million globally. He allegedly made $5 million simply for providing his voice. With the help of co-stars like Wanda Sykes and Gary Chandling, who brought the Forrest Gang to life, the film was a smashing success upon its May 19th release. Bruce built R.A.J. amusing and cunning. A raccoon connives his pals into helping him pay off a debt he owes a bear. It was a rare opportunity for fans to see a different side of him during his peak career, his voice in a children's film. Next, in 2010, he portrayed the role of Frank Moses, a former CIA agent in the film Red. Nearly $200 million was earned globally by this hilarious high-octane film. Many legendary figures were among the cast. Helen Mirren, John Malkovich and Morgan Freeman had amazing chemistry. It wasn't all fun and games though behind the scenes. Reportedly, Willis's mood changes on set caused tension with the crew, and he was also rather tired. Critical reception was nevertheless very positive. Even though many thought it failed to replicate the original's enchantment, a 2013 sequel brought in an additional $148 million. Regardless, Red served as a timely reminder of Willis's status as an action heavyweight, despite the obvious signs of aging. In the same year, he had a cameo appearance alongside Stallone and Schwarzenegger in The Expendables. The ultimate squad for action aficionados was this. Trouble began in 2013. Willis wanted $4 million instead of the $3 million paid for his 4 days of work on The Expendables 3. It was serious business for Stallone. He was publicly criticized for being sluggish and greedy. His replacement, Harrison Ford, was cast within 72 hours. The fallout was in the news. Regardless, $274 million was the gross from the 2010 original. Even though Willis had a minor part, it left a lasting impression. His other 2013 picture, Red 2, made $80 million, proving that the alleged greed could have simply been a result of negotiations. Unfortunately, it was too late. In 2015, circumstances had transformed. The low-budget, straight-to-video action flicks featuring Willis were pouring in. Vice was one of them. In it, he portrayed a resort owner whose robotic employees were all lying to him. Like Blade Owner, it attempted a futuristic style, but critics were not fans. Reviewers panned it for being uninteresting and uninspired after its January release, and the film failed to generate much buzz. From behind the scenes, it became apparent that he was directing as many as 5 films of this genre annually. The shows were lifeless. His radiance was dwindling. It all made sense when in 2022, his family disclosed that he had been battling aphasia, a neurological disorder impacting language. Taking up these positions wasn't a labor of love, it was a signal a problem existed. However, real reality deviated from the fictional twists. His 2009 wedding to British beauty Emma Hemming caught everyone by surprise. They first crossed paths while filming Perfect Stranger 2 years ago, and that was despite the fact that they were 24 years apart in age. He was 54 and she was 30. On March 21st, they had a little ceremony at his Turks and Caicos home to tie the knot. Demi Moore was present, along with their daughters. They went to Beverly Hills to make it official a few days after that. After a decade had passed, they returned to the very same shore to say "I do" all over again. At this point, all 5 of their daughters were present to observe. It offered a second opportunity at stability, while also being serene and lovely. Intruders' 2015 attempt to break into their property in Idaho broke their peace. Even though the break-in was foiled, the experience was harrowing. Immediate security measures were taken. Around $500,000 for gates, cameras, and armed guards on an annual basis. The fact that one of the suspects was found in possession of private family photographs only added insult to injury. It was deliberate. Someone was trying to do it. Following that, Willis, who is renowned for his unflappable movie persona, enrolled in private defense classes. They started to treat their out-of-the-way ranch like a fortress. It seems that fame was not free. There was yet more darkness in his life. Willis was apprehended at his house in the Hollywood Hills in 1989, while he was high on moonlighting. After a few drinks, he confronted the police at a rowdy party and shoved one of them. He was inebriated, shirtless, and nursing a broken collarbone from his skiing accident. Not only were the charges dropped following community service, but it served as a wake-up call. Years later, in his memoir published in 2018, he discussed his struggles, the effects of drinking, exposing inebriation, and brawls at the bar. He said that the program Alcoholics Anonymous was the catalyst that changed his life. His followers were startled since he had kept it all under wraps, exuding an air of cool confidence on film. Bruce then pulled a stunt that no one saw coming in 2020, while the country was under lockdown. He spent time in quarantine at Demi Moore's Idaho house with their 3 grown daughters. Emma remained in Los Angeles with their younger daughters following an accident in the park that injured little Evelyn's foot. Playing games, wearing identical pajamas, and uploading family photos, Bruce and his ex-wife lived together again for weeks. It was otherworldly. Anxiety swept the globe, but here they were proving that divorce isn't the doom of all relationships. They were even complimented on their images by Emma. It had already gone viral by the time Bruce got back home, but it was during the height of the pandemic. The year 2022 was a watershed moment. According to a statement made by his family, Bruce has been diagnosed with aphasia and has decided to take away from acting immediately. The man was 67 years old. Hard news hit. All of a sudden, the recent film's peculiar performances were clear. He occasionally needed to use earpieces or even body doubles since he was having trouble speaking. He was so confused that the directors had to film around him. It was tragic for the performer, who could have captivated an audience with a single glance. Things had deteriorated by February 2023. It had advanced to frontotemporal dementia, a rare and incurable condition that gradually impairs movement, language, and personality, according to the doctors. In retrospect, Emma admitted that she had the impression